Hey guys, so tonight we're going to be starting our next unit, Unit 7 on Latin American revolutions. It's going to be a really quick unit. We'll have 3 videos on it, 2 of which should be really short, including tonight's video. So you can see the SOL at the top of your screen. It's pretty cut and dry and basic. It's about the characteristics of the colonial system prior to these revolutions taking place and how society looked. So let's get started. The first characteristic we're going to talk about is that the governments in these Latin American countries or colonies at this time mirrored their parent countries. So just like we've talked about before with colonies, the society, their government, the social structures, those type of things were mirrored after the structures in those parent countries. They were copies of what existed in the parent countries. This is true for government of these Latin American places. Second, strong influence of Catholicism. Spain and Portugal were the 2 European countries that had strongholds or a lot of colonies in Latin America, and they were both Catholic nations, very strong Catholic countries, and therefore their colonies were also Catholic. Catholicism played a huge role in people's lives, not just as their religion, but kind of the basis for their whole life. So Catholicism and the influence of Catholicism is super important. Next, the economy is based on mining for export. So they're mining precious metals. Remember, Spain was getting a lot of gold from their colonies in South America and Latin America. And so the economy is based primarily on mining of those precious metals for export. Major cities were outposts of colonial authority. So the cities were the centers where the authority and the government was really run from. They were the places that the officials from those European nations would be located who were in control of the government at the time. Last, rigid class system. So there are 3 levels that we really need to know for this class, but technically the class system in Latin American colonies can be broken down into about 6 or 7 categories, but you only need to know about 3. So first is the viceroys or the colonial officers. Those on this little chart that I have on your slide is the peninsulares. That is another word that you might see associated with this class. So viceroys, colonial officers, peninsulares are all the same thing, the same people. It's the top of the system, smallest population-wise, and they were Spanish or they were born in the mother country, and they were the government officials. They were the ones running the show. The next level is Creoles. Creoles were born not like Creole. We hear Creole in like the deep south, like Louisiana and Mississippi in the United States. So not Creole like those places. Creole here means that they were Spanish people, but they were born in the colonies. They were born in Latin America. So it'd be like if my parents were both from Spain, but they traveled over here to the colony, and then I was born here in the colony. Technically, I'm of direct Spanish descent, but I was born somewhere else. So those are your Creoles. They're the middle class. And the next one we need to know about are the mestizos, or also you can include the mulattoes. Those are technically 2 different groups of people, but mestizos were people who were of mixed background of Spanish and native people. So it is someone whose parents, one of their parents would be from Spain, and one of their parents would have been a native to Latin America. And so those are the mestizos, and they're the bottom class. Technically, your image here is correct. The Africans and the natives who were totally native, or the Africans who were slaves, were below that social class even still. And there are some more breakdowns within that, but like I said, we need to know the viceroys, the Creoles, and the mestizos. So that is the class system or that existed in the Latin American colonies. The last thing we're going to talk about tonight really quickly, so that's what society looked like before these revolutions took place. So that gives you an idea, really basic idea of what Latin America looked like, society and government in Latin America looked like before revolutions took place. So now this is a slide on the influences of the revolutions that would start happening in this area. What influenced these people to revolt? So one, the American French revolutions. Just like we finished talking about, the French Revolution was influenced by the American Revolution. Now the American and the French Revolution are going to influence revolution in Latin America. Second, resentment of colonial powers. So people who were living in these colonies were resenting Spain and their control of what was taking place in the colonies. This is just like the American Revolution, guys, when we, or Americans, were frustrated with being controlled by England, and the idea of taxation without representation, and that we wanted a say in the government in England and how things were run in England if they were going to run our colonies. It's the same kind of idea. So there's this resentment of the colonial powers controlling all aspects of society and government within Latin America. And lastly, yet again, just like the American and French revolutions that we finished talking about, the Enlightenment idea specifically of liberty, equality, and democracy. So all of these things are working together in the minds of Latin American people that cause them to revolt against their colonies or their parent countries. And they all work together, guys. We've seen this throughout the American and the French Revolution, that these ideas kind of work together in the minds of people. They're not separate ideas. They all go hand in hand. And so that, in a nutshell, is what caused or what led to revolutions taking place in Latin America. I like this map. You can see it tells you what years different Latin American and South American... Sorry guys, so what years different Latin American and South American countries gained their independence. You can take a look, pause your video and take a closer look at this map. But that is our video for tonight. Tomorrow we'll have a little bit longer video on some specific people and specific events of the revolutions in this area. But I will see you in class tomorrow.